everybody. How is it going? This is Justin Bozeman, and I'm back once again to do another episode of the Fed Up Gamers podcast. And so I'm wondering, um, since we're doing this show, what I'm wondering is what are your thoughts moving forward? And we're going to start off with a couple topics. But the first topic that we're going to start off with is there was a announcement because we haven't been here for quite a while, and before the last episode, we talked about Microsoft doing some things in terms of improving their third party uh, game output and also their first party game output. And so what ended up happening was Microsoft, after we did that last show, they ended up buying Bethesda Games. And so what I want to ask you, Daryl, is what do you think that this means for the video game industry now that Bethesda has done this and they've put this and Microsoft has put them into their staple of game makers? What do you think?
Well, I think this is a good thing for Microsoft. In fact, I think this is one of the things that originally when Microsoft came into the gaming industry, if you remember back in high school when you were hyping Microsoft up, and I said the one thing I don't like about Microsoft is the fact that like they just have money, and I feel they're just going to throw money at the industry until they stick. And originally they did, but now they're being real bullies with their money right now. They're banning up all these studios, and I think it's a good thing for them because while they have managed to have some sort of success, they've been around long enough. They've established that they're not just in it like Amazon and Google with these new streaming platforms. And I think this is important, and I think for gaming as a whole with these new streaming platforms, I think putting Microsoft in control of a lot of these American studios is going to really keep from having these major corporations that just have buku bucks that are crazy from coming in and like really ruining gaming for us. So I think this is a good thing. I'm pretty sure Microsoft, they have a great working relationship with Nintendo right now. So I could see a lot of the games that do go to Xbox also coming to Nintendo in their future systems if they're able to do that. Maybe not so much PlayStation, but I think it's definitely a good thing for Microsoft to buy these studios to hopefully keep some of these games off of these streaming platforms so that they don't gain any traction.
Now, let me ask you something. When it
When it
comes
comes
to
to
Microsoft,
Microsoft, do you think that there are problems
with
with the current gen in terms of Xbox One?
do you think
Do you
that
think
those
that
were
those were
caused
caused because of their lack of
first
first party
party games,
games, or do you think it was because
Sony
Sony was
was
just
just
that much better at putting out
first
first party IPs, and there was such a drought with Microsoft
that
that
it was
it
more
was more so Sony
being
being better as opposed to Microsoft
not
not
having
having the games? What do you think?
That could be a tough one. I think it's a combination of both. I would say PlayStation, they I would say they fed their customers a lot of games years in advance. So there was a lot of hype for games that weren't coming out for a long time. You know, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, that was basically being pushed almost the entire time since it was named. And people are finally getting around to playing these games. But I think it was the fact that some of these games were just really, really big, and Microsoft didn't have anything to combat it. They just didn't have the titles to even use for marketing strategy to compete, and I think that was what kept them from really just taking off and competing this generation. And Nintendo's just, even with a few average first parties, they can just still generate sales.
So, okay.
Okay.
Now,
Now,
How much do you think that's going to help them in the current generation? Because do you think, okay, do you think that that's going to help them in this current generation? Because do you think people have already made up their mind about how good Microsoft can be, or do you think that this is going to turn them around, or is it too little, too late?
For this current gen?
Yeah.
Like as an Xbox One X series or One X or Series X gen?
Well, I would say Series X.
For Series X, I think it's definitely going to help them. It's going to take a couple years for them to start pumping out games. I think now that they got rid of the whole issue with the DRM that they were originally that really screwed them up at the beginning for their marketing. I think now that they got that, they've turned into easily probably one of the most consumer friendly companies out there. And I think a lot of people are starting to take notice, and a lot of people are definitely going to at least pick up an Xbox as possibly a secondary system if they're like a Nintendo fan, because it's easy to justify picking up a Series X and then using it as an entertainment center plus a Game Pass machine, and just, paying for Game Pass and playing those games that way with very little investment. So I think this is a good thing for them, because you can even pick up your third-party games and play them on some of the best console hardware out there.
Okay. I'm going to name you some of these games. Right now, what you're looking at on the screen, if you're watching this live, is you're looking at the press release for the poster that Xbox or that Microsoft put up on their website. And these are the games. I'm going to read off these listing of games, and at the end of it, you're going to tell me which one of these games will have the highest impact in terms of their impact in terms of sales for units and for games. Starting from left to right, the first game is Dishonored. The second game is Wolfenstein. The next game is The Elder Scrolls. The game in the middle is Fallout. The next game is Doom. The next game is Starfield. And then another game is The Evil Within. The last game in this poster is Prey. Now, out of that listing of games, which one of these games do you think will have the highest impact in terms of sales and what Microsoft is trying to accomplish?
For me, I think it would be Elder Scrolls. That fan base is extremely dedicated. They've been waiting for a new game for a long time. The images that we've seen for it so far have been absolutely stunning. So I think people are really ready to just be immersed in that world for, thousands upon thousands of hours. And I think you're just going to have a lot of players just picking it up and really getting into it. I think you're going to have a lot of new players come into this, because it's going to probably be a lot of people's first Xbox system. Like I said, because of that Game Pass. So I think a lot of new people are going to be entering to the world of the Elder Scrolls. And I think that's going to have the biggest impact, followed up by maybe like Doom.
You mentioned Game Pass. Now let me shift to a scene here. As I shift to this scene, I'm going to be showing another press release that they have, because you mentioned Game Pass. And I think what Game Pass is turning out to be is actually turning out to be the modern day definition of Netflix for gaming. But let me ask you something. Do you feel maybe like, does this kind of give you an appreciation for an old time company like Sega that did the same thing that Microsoft is doing, except they did it about 25 years ago, and they were so ahead of their time, they never got the credit that they deserve? What do you think about Microsoft trying to be the modern day version of Sega Channel? And is that going to work to the tune of actually more sales in this generation?
I'd say more like xCloud and these new streaming services like Stadia are closer to Sega Channel, but at the same time, the idea of basically downloading your games and playing them, not having to own the game physically and being able to still play it was like it was so ahead of its time. Like the internet was so slow. I remember playing Sega or trying to play Sega Channel, and I played Echo the Dolphin, and man, that game ran so bad. So bad. But I mean, once you got in it was just like, oh, okay, this is cool. And you never even thought because they were so ahead of their time. You never thought after Sega Channel, you're like, oh, Nintendo should do this because the internet was just so bad back then that and the experience was so bad that you were like, no one else should do this at all right now. So it wasn't even something like, yeah, I can't wait till Nintendo does their little online. It was just like, no, you had 14.400 bits per second at the time. You wasn't even doing kilobytes. Yeah, you were just doing or megabytes. You were just doing kilobytes. So yeah, it was Sega was at the leader, and if they would have just not spent all their money trying to be too far ahead of their time, we might still see Sega making hardware.
That makes me so mad now that I look at what they did and what they accomplished, and it brings me up to the next part, which is we're going to talk about the pre-orders, because now we're going to talk about how Sony now, of course, is also coming out with PlayStation 5. And PlayStation 5 went on sale in terms of pre-orders. Now let me ask you something. What is your policy on buying a home console? And is it the same as mine? Because my policy is I don't buy home consoles when they first come out. Because there's too many bugs. Stuff overheats. You get stuff where there's a lower thing of memory in it, and I always feel like they're going to improve the unit eventually to where it costs less and it has more on-deck memory to start. So I never buy systems when they first come out. I think the only system that I really wanted to buy when it first came out back in the day was a Sega Saturn. I think that was the only one that I wanted to buy when it first came out. But my policy is to always wait until all the bugs are actually worked out. So they revealed that there was going to be a disc version. If you're looking at the screen, this is the press release of the PlayStation 5 from Sony's website. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen that there is a disc-based PlayStation 5 which runs for $4.99, and then there is a digital-only version which runs for $3.99. What is your stance on getting one of these consoles when it first comes out? And if so, why are you getting it, or why are you not getting it?
This is really an unfair question because I don't buy PlayStations or Xboxes, so it's kind of hard. The problem I have with PlayStation and Xbox, or mostly PlayStation, Microsoft, they tend to do pretty good at having new releases that are actually next generation that make you want to buy it upon release. PlayStation has this problem where they don't end the generation and start a new one. They get a new system, and then they just keep making everything for both systems until enough people adopt the system that they can be like, okay, well, we're just going to make it for just this new system now. And it drives me crazy because it's like, why put out a new system if you're not going to put new games that you can't get on the old system?
You know what? I'm gonna go back and forth with you on this, because I said that, and we did a show about one of the reasons of why I was a Microsoft fan, and why I was more of a Microsoft / Nintendo fan than I am a Sony fan. And I know people can listen to this and go, oh, you're being biased, but meanwhile, I have all the systems, so I don't have to be biased. We have access to play all the systems on this channel. If we don't have a system, we can get it to somebody so that they can play it. So I don't have to be biased. But I've always said for Sony, it's like they don't do anything different
with their consoles enough from generation to generation. And I'm disappointed that the Sony lovers didn't join the show today to defend their company. But I feel like I feel the same way that you feel, because I feel like, what am I buying this system for if all the same games are on the other system? And why should I buy it when it first comes out? So that gives me all the more reason to wait another year or two. Don't you think?
Yeah, for sure, because it's like, what is it? It's not like Nintendo, where almost every console has been completely different. You went, like, even from the Wii to the Wii U, like, you went from having Joy-Cons to a gamepad, and from the GameCube to the Wii. Even though you had the GameCube ports, you still had the Wiimote and Nunchuck. Like, you had new gaming experiences, new ways of playing, and even if you count the Switch and its Joy-Cons, that they had 1-2 switch, and you had snipper clips just on launch, and those were two completely revolutionary games for their type, even though they're simple, and that's what people complain about, because they're kiddie games because they're simple. And Nintendo's like, well, we're trying to get people to adopt this. We want something simple that people can grab the controllers, get used to how they work, and then we'll give you the more complicated stuff later down the road. But just we can make you wiggle a Joy-Con and feel ice cubes in it. That's a cool little thing to be like, just to be like, oh man, they can do this with this. I can't wait to see what they do down the road. Like 1-2 Switch was just like a tech demo. They could have made it like $30 or like bundled it with the system. I think they should have did.
Well, that goes back to Nintendo's bad business practices, which I always tried to get you to defend your company with these business practices of, for instance,
Super Mario 3D World with the Bowser
for $60. When I bought it for $19.99 already on the Wii, and all the Bowser World thing is DLC and $20 extra. I know we're on PlayStation and it's Xbox, but if you want to bring up what Nintendo does, like I don't understand.
Why are they allowed to get away with doing stuff like this, man?
Nintendo understands their player base. They kind of know what their players are willing to accept, and they kind of know what the consumer is willing to expect. If you really think about it, like they're selling this Bowser 3D World bundle because they know it didn't sell well, and they know they can milk it. Like, if you look at everything on the Switch, almost every single port on the Switch has basically outsold the Wii U version. Like, even Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze outsold the Wii U version at a higher price point. So like, the problem is it's not that Nintendo is getting away with scamming their customers or anything. It's the customers don't care. They're just gonna buy it because they missed it and they want to play it, or they just don't care, and they're like, we're Nintendo fans. Like, we know the price ain't gonna drop.
You know what? Here's the thing, man. Even with that, I agree, because I think, to be honest, and I've got on people for Nintendo for years for this. It's like their fans allow Nintendo to get away with these practices because, like you said, they're going to buy it anyway, and they're going to buy it more. So Nintendo basically says, well, you know what, that's okay. But even during like the GameCube generation, and you can admit this, when they brought games on different consoles, and they knew that you bought it already, and they knew that they did something that screwed you, the consumer, they would at least like offer you something for free if you had a registered code, because you would register your product or your game on the Nintendo site, and they would give you like a free something that they didn't offer for somebody else for you being a loyal customer. I'm saying at least give me, the guy who bought the Wii U, some of that. Give me like $20 off the Super Mario 3D World thing for the Switch. Why can't they even do that?
You got a point there. That was the Nintendo Club. Nintendo Club was really, really cool. I had a whole lot of games registered, and it was nice because I see a lot of these YouTubers now, and they got their little gray Mario t-shirt with all the different character designs on it. I had that t-shirt. It's gone now. I'm mad because everyone's wearing them now, and I don't have it. And that was my Nintendo. That was a Club Nintendo thing, and you used to be able to buy, like you said, you bought your games and you could get real tangible items with it. And nowadays it's like, and I was like, it kept track of everything. So I used to think that, oh, if they got this and they're tracking everything that we've purchased, they should be able to see like what we're purchasing in the future, because you used to be able to register all your systems. I used to have every single system registered on there, and I almost think that that's might be a reason why I had such good customer service, why I've never paid for a repair or ever had warranty issues and always got my stuff repaired for free. I think it was the fact that I had so much stuff registered on there. Nintendo was like, yo, this guy buys everything, hook him up. But I can't confirm that or anything, but I still think that they have that information still in a system somewhere, but it's like they don't know what to do with it anymore, and they're trying to move on to something new. And the gold coins are kind of cool for the most part. I mean, they're really trying to incentivize the digital buying by giving you 5 times as many coins as you would get for physical, but it's not the same as back in the day. I got really screwed in those gold coins. I was so mad because I had purchased all those games in the first year and had gotten like 1%. So I had like $4 in coins. And then they're like, oh, by the way, in March, we're going to start giving this many points if you actually, and I was like, what? Because it would have been like $16 or $17 instead of like $4.
So why shouldn't they give you, the consumer who shows your loyalty from the beginning? Why shouldn't they say, you know what, man? Here's a free version of this special game that we're only going to give to certain customers. There were even games that they gave to people that they didn't even sell. Like there were some games that they offered for some Nintendo Club people or people who registered their games that they never even sold in a video game store. They only gave it to them like when they knew that they screwed up somehow. Like they said, all right, we're gonna give you this old port of this in this compilation. We're gonna give it to you because you were here from the beginning. Why can't they do that? And why can't they keep showing that good customer service? Do you think it's because the long-time CEO died and the new CEO might not care as much about his Nintendo customer fan base?
What's his name? The new guy? I forget his name offhand already. He seems to be.
I forget.
Yeah, I forget his name. It's crazy. Like they've been talking about him so much lately, but Iwata was a different type of man. He was a different type of person, and he really wanted to see Nintendo succeed and really had like dream and vision. So it's possible that he was willing to make those sacrifices to make sure customers and fans were just had fun and were receiving rewards and surprises all the time. So I think what we have now is more of a Nintendo that's kind of trying to cater more. It seems like in general, normally, like you say, they don't cater to the Western market. But I think this is more of a Western influence because you see with the Xbox and their system where you can basically earn points for playing games. I think Nintendo's slowly moving towards a system like that. But unfortunately, it's like, well, if you buy games, you get points towards games. And I've noticed they've been running a lot more tournaments lately. Like right now, this weekend, you have a Mario Kart tournament. If you get top 8, you get $25. They had an ARMS tournament just last week or something, and first place got $100 on the eShop. So they're definitely creating ways for people to get rewards, and it's nice seeing them take the esports scene, even of games that aren't super popular like ARMS, and just saying, hey, every other month or something, we're gonna have a tournament for this game and give out some Gold My Nintendo points.
Okay. So let me. All right. So since I have these two pictures, if you're watching this, because I don't think you can see what's on the screen, Daryl. But what's on the screen is I have these two systems compared, and they're side by side. I have a PlayStation 5 on the top. I have the Xbox Series X on the bottom. And so they also show the Xbox Series X with its digital version, and it also shows it with its hard drive version as well. Now, you've already mentioned that you're more of a Microsoft person because even when Microsoft was first coming out,
I think you, like a lot of gamers at the time, were kind of reluctant because they were like, it's Microsoft, they're a computer company, they just want to make money, they're not going to be for the gamer, blah, blah, blah. And we're talking about how they wanted now to establish themselves as a gaming company as well, and they really put some inroads to be able to do that. So with this system that's now coming out, and with the pricing being basically the same, even though it is reported that the Series X is going to be much stronger, much more powerful, and it also has the second version of Sega Channel. What do you think Sony has to do differently now to try to compete? Or do you think, or do you feel like Sony doesn't feel like they even have to compete at this point?
Sony's always pressured to compete, and for whatever reason it is, Sony does not know how to. They don't. Sony. They think they're competing with Nintendo. Let's keep it real. They do not know how to not pay attention to Nintendo. Nintendo just does their own little thing in their own little world, and they don't really care what anyone else does. And Sony's just basically out here, like, they want to compete with the power of Xbox, but then they want to, like, compete with the innovation of Nintendo. It's like, just do one thing. Like, just do one thing. Focus on doing you, and stop trying to do what Nintendo's doing, or stop trying to do what Microsoft is doing. Like, Nintendo was like, this power game, we're just not with the power game. Like, you guys want to spend all that money on hardware, go for it. Nintendo's like, we're just going to put out quality experiences. Microsoft is like, I can understand. Microsoft is a computer, like you said, it's a computer company first. And they're going to be about power. And I think the Series X is the first time that they've basically accepted that they're a computer company. Because instead of trying to make a game console, they basically said, look, this is a mini tower. It's a mini computer.
Yeah. I think that's probably the first time that they've done that ever since the 360. Because I think the 360 was kind of like that when it first came out. When it first came out, it was so far ahead of like gaming PCs at that point in terms of the pricing and the power. I think that's a big reason of why they were able to like do what they did during that generation. So I think they wanted to go back to that sort of, but I think they also wanted to go back to, and it's just something that me and John talked about. They wanted to go back to the charm that they had when they had the original Xbox, the one that they first came out with in the early 2000s. They had not only the power of the system, but they also had their own slate of games that used to come out specifically for the Xbox. I mentioned before games like Jade Empire, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Project Gotham Racing. There was just so many games that they came out with on their own. The first Splinter Cell, Tom Clancy games. Like that was how Xbox actually set themselves up to be able to go into the 360 generation and be able to do what they did. So I think with them doing things like coming out with this new system and buying Bethesda and getting all those first-party IPs now, so that they can start to release them back to back from month to month, and they don't have these gaming droughts in terms of their first party. I'm actually going to be very interested in seeing the bias, because a lot of people are just biased when it comes to PlayStation, because a lot of PlayStation people, I always say PlayStation fans are usually PlayStation fans because they were PlayStation fans because of what Nintendo didn't do in the late 90s in terms of keeping their market by having things such as a disc drive. They had cartridges, they ran off third-party companies, and all PlayStation had to do was just basically go with the times, which they did. So when the PlayStation 1 came out, I think they have a lot of good faith, goodwill people who remember that PlayStation 1, and they remember the PlayStation 2 because of the DVD player and whatnot, and they've been able to keep those people just because of name recognition. But I don't think, to be honest, and I actually like the PlayStation 3. I thought they had some great games, but I don't think they've kept up with that quality in terms of innovation, like you said.
I don't think that they focused on being themselves as opposed to them competing with Nintendo. So they've been doing stuff like bringing out the PSP. Bringing out the PlayStation Vita. Meanwhile, you know good and well, you ain't no handheld company. you ain't a handheld company, but you coming out with the PlayStation Vita. So I think this might backfire on them if they don't get to a place where they just say, all right, this is what we do. And this is how we're going to do it, and we're just going to have our fans buy the games. So now moving forward, and I think I'm on to scene number 6 because I'm talking about the pre-orders.
What do you think about these pre-order numbers?
Man?
What do you think?
What do you think?
I think the pre-orders are good. I think Sony and Microsoft messed up on them. Sony messed up real bad on them. I mean, how you gonna sit there and tell people, be one of the first by giving us your email, and then all these companies are just jumping the gun because they want to get people's money first? It's like, you can't, like, they just messed up everything. It's just like, and scalpers and everything. I was like, man, this is just a hot mess. And just looking at the prices on eBay, it's just like who are you people that are buying these like, what? Why are y'all so desperate to get these consoles for these prices? Like, it's not that serious. Just wait a little bit and you'll get it for regular price. But it's like, apparently y'all want to pay $1,000 to play a game that you can get on your PS3 for $60 or $70, whatever the price is, or PS4.
And you know what's funny? They're buying the system day one as if they've been having this historic, as if they're going to have a historic launch lineup, which they haven't had a historic launch lineup since I want to say probably the PlayStation 1. Which I'm not going to be mad that I said that, but
it is what it is.
They're buying the system day one as if this is going to be like one of the greatest launch lineups ever. And I'm like, even with a great launch lineup, it's like, I'm still always reluctant to buy that stuff day one because I don't think it has enough games. And like you said, all the games that they're bringing out are mostly going to be on the PlayStation 4 too. So it's like, what's the point in me buying this stuff? So that brings up my last and final question, which is, and we can get into this. Looking at now going into, I'm trying to think, what is this? The 9th gen, 8th gen, 9th gen, something like that. Which system do you remember that had for you the greatest launch lineup? And tell me why.
Honestly, like, very few systems I was paying attention to their launch lineups, because a lot of times their launch lineups were real thin. They didn't have anything. But I can be certain, even with the Switch being my favorite console of all time currently, I would say that the GameCube probably had the strongest launch lineup for me. It had a very strong lineup. And I remember being out there day one and buying it and buying a whole bunch of games for it and just having, I believe, like, Wave Race was one of those launch games, but it was just, GameCube had a very nice lineup whenever at launch. Like, it was just like, you wanted the games because you wanted those experiences, you wanted to play them, you wanted the power of the system, the controller and everything. Mm-hmm. I think Smash Bros. Was launched too, wasn't it? Or close. It was close.
I'm gonna give you.
You got the GameCube launch lineup?
I'm gonna give you my greatest launch lineup,
which of course is Dreamcast.
Oh.
All right. I'm gonna read to you some of these titles, right?
Okay.
And you'll see why I put these as.
Let's compare it to the GameCube launch lineup. Let's compare it to the GameCube.
Hold on a second. Let me unmute you.
Say that again.
Let's compare it to the GameCube launch lineup and see what the difference is between those two.
All right.
Because they was the same gen, wasn't they? Basically, a little bit one later.
Yes. Dreamcast is counted as a part of the fifth gen, which I say is the greatest generation that we've had of gaming so far, the fifth gen. So fifth gen is Dreamcast, Xbox, PlayStation 2, and GameCube. I think that was the best generation. So let me just read a couple launch titles, all right? Let's compare.
All right.
Let's say
House of
the Dead 2.
Monaco
Grand Prix 2. Sonic Adventure.
That's a good one.
NFL Blitz 2000.
Oh my god.
Ready to
Rumble.
Hydro
Thunder.
Trick Style. 2K
Football.
My
personal favorite. Power Stand.
That was launch.
And your favorite Soul Calibur.
Yes.
But you know what's funny? I actually have more.
There's actually more games that I can list off, and I haven't put them on there. So
let's see. Let's see. Because I remember there's another game that I'm thinking that I had that I don't remember.
Oh, you know what? That's what
it was. It was
Air Force
Delta.
Now that's
their launch title. Now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna list off the GameCube lineup. You can probably list off the GameCube lineup. Give me your top three GameCube launch lineup games.
I don't remember them off offhand. I just remember being out there. Just let's list them. Let's see you get it.
Let me look up that because I'm trying to remember what they came out with. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh. Apparently. All right. Let me give you some. I'm trying to get up. Now, can you hear the clicking in the background? I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah, I can hear it a little bit. I don't know what it's from.
I'm actually surprised that it even shows that. Because I wasn't a big GameCube person. Admittedly, those came out. But let's see. The launch titles was you mentioned, and let me mute you so I can say it. Wave Race, Super Monkey Ball, Luigi's Mansion. What else? I think Europe got way more launch titles. I think they got like 20. I think they got like 20 launch titles. And it wasn't Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Was it?
That was a launch title.
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought that came out later on.
No,
Yeah.
So yeah, like Star Wars Rogue Squadron was a launch title. I forgot because that's what got me into Star Wars because I couldn't beat the first mission.
You couldn't beat.
Remember? I don't know. I think weren't you? I couldn't beat the first mission, which was the trench run. And I called Marcus and Brett over, and I said, you know what? Let me rent this first movie, episode 4, and watch this and try to figure out this thing. So of course, the trench run doesn't happen to the whole end of the movie, so I had to watch the whole first movie just to beat the first level. But then I was hooked on Star Wars.
Here's another couple launch titles. All right. All-Star Baseball 2002. Batman Vengeance. Crazy Taxi. Dave Mirra Freestyle BMX. Disney's Tarzan Untamed. Madden 2002. NFL Hits 2002. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. So those are the games. Now we're comparing that to. I'm going to list the Dreamcast. We're comparing that to Arrow Wings, Air Force Delta, Blue Stinger, Expendable, Flag to Flag, House of the Dead 2, Hydro Thunder, Monaco Grand Prix, Mortal Kombat Gold, NFL 2K, NFL Blitz 2000, Power Stone, Ready to Rumble, Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur, Tokyo Extreme Racer.
You know what? when you list Sonic Adventure, you list Soul Calibur, my favorite game, you list Power Stone, and you list what was that other one? Oh my goodness. You got like 4 games that are gonna be in like a lot of people's top 10 of all time right there.
Yeah.
And like even though like Wave Race is a great game, Super Monkey Ball, of course, is going to be a classic, and Star Wars Rogue Squadron and such. Those are all good games. It's too hard to compete with Super Monkey Ball or compete with Sonic Adventure, Soul Calibur, and Power Stone alone, and Ready to Rumble Boxing. Like I'm still I would love a remake of Ready to Rumble Boxing, or a new one. Like those are games I look forward to all the time. Like I love Sonic Adventure. I think Nintendo needs to just be like Sega. Give us Sonic, and then have the 3D Mario team make a Sonic Adventure game and just go hard on it. That would be crazy. But yeah, I want a new Ready to Rumble. You know what? You're right. Dreamcast do got that's too strong of a lineup.
I'm gonna read you my second favorite listing of launch titles, and that's of course is the Microsoft Xbox first Xbox. I'm going to read these games because I actually thought that they had a better launch lineup than the GameCube too. I'm going to read these games, and you'll remember these games because I had some of these games. All right. So the games that they came out with whenever they launched, of course, are Shrek, Halo, Combat Evolved, Oddworld, Munch's Odyssey, Dead or Alive 3, 4x4 Evo 2, NASCAR Thunder 2002, Project Gotham Racing, Dark Summit, Mad Dash Racing, Cell Damage, Madden 2002, NASCAR Heat, Arctic Thunder, Test Drive, Off-Road, Wide Open, Fusion Frenzy, and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. Now, out of those games, I think the most underrated games in that whole series are Dead or Alive 3 and Project Gotham Racing, and of course, Oddworld, Munch's Odyssey. I think that game is so slept on, and it was a great launch title. So that was my...
Oddworld recently just came out for Switch, so a lot of people getting to experience that game.
Hold up. What came out?
Oddworld. I'm pretty sure it's Munch's Odyssey or one of those. There's a couple new Oddworld games that came out recently, HD version and everything for the Switch that are I've been thinking about picking up. It's on my list of games to pick up.
You know what? We're here, and I finally got this listed. What I'm gonna do is look at all the. I'm going to give you some more launch titles. All right, so because I think we have some generations underlooked. Let's go to, and this is probably one of our favorite generations, but this is one of my favorite systems of all time. One of my favorite systems is the Sega Saturn.
And I'm going to read off some of these because I actually think Sega Saturn had an unbelievable launch lineup as well. Even though a lot of people didn't appreciate it, but I actually thought they had probably the best collection of, like, if you put up a list of 4 great games, I think they probably have the best listing of the 4 great games that anybody had. So the Sega Saturn, when it came out, because I remember it came out with a surprise release. I remember I was at the mall and I went to Babbage's, which tells you how old I am. You know, that's somebody.
Babbage's. I don't even. Babbage's is so old. I don't think anyone's gonna even know. It might not even be a main mall brand. It might be just like a Pittsburgh thing. I don't even know.
You know what? Babbage's was everywhere because when I went to Chicago and South Carolina, Babbage's there. Babbage's turned into GameStop, I think, or something, didn't it?
No, that was Electronics Boutique. Babbage's just vanished.
I thought they were bought out by EB and then became GameStop.
Oh, they might have been. You might be right. We'll have to look it up because Babbage's is so old. Babbage's is like, it's like Suncoast old, but older. Like, I completely forgot they existed.
For the old time gamer, you'll love that reference.
I do remember being in Babbage's though, and they had the Jaguar in there, and people like the Jaguar. God, oh my goodness, the Jaguar was so 64-bit.
You can't name one Jaguar classic game other than Alien versus Predator. You know what? No. There's one more. There's one more that came out of Jaguar first. And it's still around today. And the game is Rayman.
Rayman was a Jaguar game.
Yeah.
What? Dude, talk about even Jaguars got staples in the gaming industry.
That's something that you'll only hear on the Fed Up Games podcast. Nobody has that history of gaming like how we have it. Like nobody would remember that Rayman was a game that came out for the Atari Jaguar. I remember I played it on the Jaguar on that weird controller. So I remember thinking like the graphics were beautiful, the gameplay was awesome. I was like, this game is like really underrated. And finally, I think it came out a little bit later on to like PlayStation or something like that. But the Sega Saturn launch title, I'm going to read these games. Starting with Clockwork Knight, Daytona USA, Panzer Dragon, Pebble Beach Golf Links, Virtual Fighter, Worldwide Soccer. And if you had the Japanese version of the Sega Saturn, it came out with Myst.
So, okay. So that list is crazy right there because I got Panzer Dragon Saga pre-ordered for Switch. I never got to play it on Sega on there back then, so I had to get it. I was always a huge Myst fan. I never got to beat it on my PC, so I got that coming on Switch. So I'm gonna get those games, and that's a good. Myst is a good game if you like the old school point and click adventures and mysteries and everything. It was just one of those like games where you really had to think and solve puzzles. Puzzle solving was hard in it.
What's funny is for the next list that I'm going to read, you talked about a game that came out later to PlayStation that was first out for the Jaguar. Which is Rayman. PlayStation had Rayman as a launch title. And Rayman was a launch title because it didn't really sell as much on the Jaguar, but they saw that it was a good game, so they put it on the PlayStation. But they did have, I will admit this to this day, they did have one of my favorite games come out for the original PlayStation, which was Air Combat, which later turns into the Ace Combat franchise. And they had a fighting game which is now defunct. I haven't seen a new version of this game in years called Battle Arena Toshinden. They also had ESPN Extreme Games, which was actually a very fun game. They had the Raiden Project, Ridge Racer, which was their competitor to Daytona USA. They had the Street Fighter the movie game, Total Eclipse Turbo, Zero Divide, and I think for the European version when they came out, in terms of Europe, they came out with Wipeout with it. It was also one of my favorite games. Period. So they had all that coming out, and Nintendo, being Nintendo, they only came out when they launched with the 64. Their launch lineup was Pilot Wing 64 and Mario 64.
But look, okay, so speaking of Daytona and Ridge Racer, two classics. There's rumors of Ridge Racer 8 being under production and everything, so hopefully we do get to see that on the Switch. But if you like those old school arcade racers, there is a game on the Switch called...
Love the Ridge Racer game.
There's a game on the Switch called Horizon Chase Turbo, and it harkens back to the old school Daytona and all those arcade racers. Extremely good game. Very fun. I love it. You know what? I'm about to put some hours into it this week coming up just because I want to go through. It's the old school style. You go through all the different worlds and unlock stuff. It's a very cool game for what it is. So if you haven't checked it out, you should.
You know what's funny? One of the best launch titles for any system or any console ever, though. And this is going to shock people. This tells you how old I am, but you'll never hear this on any other podcast except this one. The greatest launch title I have ever played was for the Nintendo Virtual Boy console with Mario Tennis.
Let me guess, you played 5 minutes of it and then your eyes hurt.
You know what? I never had that problem.
You know what? The majority of gamers' experience with the Virtual Boy was sitting in stores at like Hills and Kmart and playing them on demo, and that was their whole experience with the Virtual Boy because no one was buying that thing.
I rent it. Let me tell you my story about the Virtual Boy. My mom let me rent a Virtual Boy from Blockbuster Video. And I rented it for the weekend. And the only game that I got when I was on there was Mario Tennis. But I liked it. Matter of fact, to this day, I thought it was the best version of Mario Tennis that they came out with. Which is funny because they come out with other game systems, but for me that was always my favorite version. So I don't know. That's a defunct game. You'll never hear that anywhere else. But Mario Tennis on Virtual Boy, they need to make that a Switch game.
That's a part you're looking forward to? You know what? It would be crazy. You know what? I think Nintendo, since they got the NES collection and they got the Super NES collection, they might as well just put all the Virtual Boy games on there. There's only a few. They could put the whole collection on there and be like, yo, none of y'all played these.
Put the entire thing on.
You know? Now, granted, PlayStation 2 had more games when they launched. But to be honest, I didn't think these were like quite as memorable. Like
nothing. Of course, I think they had Time Splitters,
which is one of my favorite games. Let me read off this list. It's actually a lot. PlayStation 2 actually did have a lot. And the list starts with Armored Core 2, Dead or Alive 2, Dynasty Warriors 2, the ESPN Winter Games, ESPN Track and Field, Eternal Ring, Evergrace, Phantom Vision, Gun Grip and Blaze, Kessen, Med 2001, Midnight Club, Street Racing, NHL 2001, Orphan, Scion of Sorcery, which I haven't seen another game version of that. Cue Ball Billiards Master, Ready to Rumble Boxing Round 2, Ridge Racer 5, Silent Scope, Smuggler's Run, Street Fighter EX3, which I'll get into a whole other thing about the Street Fighter series. That was around the time, if I'm not mistaken, that I was not happy with the direction of the Street Fighter series. I think this is after Street Fighter Alpha, but we'll talk about that in a second. Summoner, Surfing, H30, Swing Away Golf, Tekken Tag Tournament, Unreal Tournament. Okay. Wild Racing, and X Squad. So those were the games that came out for the PlayStation 2. Now, if you notice, there's a lot of games, but I didn't. It was like
PlayStation's always been known to have a lot of games, and really on that list, Tekken Tag Tournament and Unreal Tournament probably be the two biggest hitters. Like Tekken Tag is definitely like a classic, because I mean. You can't knock Tekken Tag. I mean, it's easily one of the better fighters that for Tekken when they did it, and then Unreal Tournament is still huge to this day, even on PC. So it's just what it is. Those are your two biggest hitters most likely, but it's like just a lot of just filler for just like to get people in there. I mean, the Armored Core. ESPN Sports. Ain't nothing. It was kind of like you were just getting off of Nintendo, and nothing that really stood out as like PlayStation. Like you didn't have like a major IP. You didn't have a God of War. You didn't have just like anything that would make it be like this is PlayStation. Like Nintendo always is going to have a major IP when they launch a system. It's going to be Mario. It's going to be Zelda. Even maybe possibly Metroid. It doesn't matter. Like you're going to see a first-party character appear at the beginning of a generation or beginning of at launch.
And you know what? I think because comparing these games and these launch titles to what they used to come out with in terms of launch titles, like I said, I never buy games until they come out with a ton of games. Now, even I think even the Super Nintendo had more of a classic launch title list than most of these newer ones. Because with the Super Nintendo, you had the Super Mario World. That's a classic. You had F-Zero. That's a classic. And that came out day one. You had Pilot Wings that came out day one. So and you compare it to the Sega Genesis, which the Sega Genesis also had. That also had whenever it came out. Let me read the Sega Genesis because I remember when Sega came out. It had Space Harrier 2, Thunder Force 2, Altered Beast. Here's a game that nobody remembers this. Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle, and Ghouls and Ghosts. Now, it wasn't until I think later on, the next year or that year, they came out with Soft stuff. They didn't start off and even had Nintendo. So, like when the Nintendo came out with that Super Mario 3D World and had F-Zero, people were like, oh man, this is on a whole level. That was what Sega had to start competing. It was like, you know what, man? We better make Sonic. We better make
right. You have those are IPs right there. Those are some IPs Nintendo had. Like F-Zero. I'm still sad that we haven't seen an F-Zero since GameCube. Like that's crazy. They don't care about gamers. They don't care. They don't care about Western gamers. That's why I think they'll come out with games like Metroid and stuff. I think we're going to see. I think we're going to see F-Zero. We're definitely going to see Metroid. They finally decided that they weren't going to. They're like, we're going to make it, and then they're like, oh no, we're not going to make it, and they gave it back to Retro. That was funny. How you gonna admit defeat? Like, yeah, Metroid Prime 4 is in development. Oh, by the way, we have to start all over, and we're going to give it back to the original creators because we can't do it right. If I was Nintendo, that had to be a hurt piece for them, because you know they was looking forward to putting that game out and showing it off, just to have to be like, we got to start all over, and we're giving it back to the original creators that put out all the good ones, that put out the good trilogy. And you know that pressure's on Retro now, because you got 3 classics that are all scored in like the high 90s. So like, you can't mess this up. Like, you can't mess it up. You've had a break. Like, you have to put out the best Metroid game that you've ever, and you have to do it right. Like, you're gonna be like, look, we got online now, so we got to get that multiplayer in there. There's no reason not to have the multiplayer in this Metroid, and there's no reason that you should be like, okay, let's look at all of Metroid. What can we do to make this good? I'd be like, you have all the bounty hunters from Metroid Prime Hunters. There's no reason those bounty hunters should not be brought back into this Metroid, even if it's just for online play. Even if it's just for online play. You have those bounty hunters. That makes perfect for online play, because people can pick their favorite character and, go on about it. Like, my favorite character is Silex. Take the hunters and, like people said, make a real bounty hunter system. Go out, kill people, capture stuff, be Samus, be a real bounty hunter instead of always saving the world. I mean, you can save the world in the process, but like, let us be a real bounty hunter, and but you have to get it right. You have to get this right. And it's just like,
why do you think that they struggled with making a Metroid game since the GameCube?
I don't think they were making Metroid games. I think the issue was Retro wanted to try something new. They probably put a lot of effort into Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which is why it's such a masterpiece. Like, people legitimately said, it scored low because the game was legitimately hard. Mm-hmm. So, and it's really, really strange lately, because a lot of people were basically saying, we had the Switch. We were on almost year 4 of the Switch, and we haven't seen anything from Retro in almost 10 years. And we know they got Metroid Prime 4 back. So it's like, what were they working on that we haven't seen? And we know they don't put out bad games. So did they work on something for like 4 or 5 years and they just never got to where they wanted to be? Or is it something that they're kind of like waiting for like end of generation, just going to drop it on us, be like, yo, by the way, we've been cooking this for 10 good years. We're putting out something crazy. And
that's why I've been bashing Nintendo Switch for a long time. Because like you said, they haven't had these games come out. I don't think a Metroid game came out for the Wii. It definitely didn't come out for the Wii U. They could have been that. What have they been working on since the Wii U came out? That's like 7, 8, 9 years. Like they could have, instead of making these ports and remakes, port the stuff over. All right, fine. But my thing is, where are the new versions of these games? They should have been made another Star Fox Adventures type game. They should have been made another Metroid game. They should have been made another Mario Golf game. They should have been made another Pikmin game. All that stuff should have already been done. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, why are you guys taking so long to put out these first 40 IPs whenever you usually put them out every other, there would be at least two every year. And it's like, instead of doing new ones, you're just doing ports. So if you're doing ports, where's the new stuff at?
That's a real good question, because like, we got Pikmin 3 coming out this month. So that's exciting for me. It should be Pikmin 4, but I haven't played Pikmin 3, so I'm not going to complain about it right now. I played Pikmin 1. I started Pikmin 2.
I got to wait. This is the reason why
I only had a Wii U for like 3 weeks, unfortunately.
The only reason why is to review these games for the fans who are going to watch. That's it. That's the only reason.
So I mean, we got Pikmin 3 coming. at least we got that new Luigi's Mansion, so that's good. I think what it is Nintendo has a lot of good IPs, and I think they have a lot of cult following IPs, and the problem is they don't know who they want to cater to, they know okay, we can they know. No, I mean they know they can throw out Mario anything and it's going to sell. Look at the 3D collection with 64 and Sunshine and everything. They just threw it out there and said, "Oh, by the way, it's only going to be limited," and that thing's just selling like gangbusters. You look at Zelda selling.
Let Nintendo get away with putting out just a port. They ain't even up to graphics.
They had to update Sunshine because Sunshine used to have the control. They had to change the controls, so they had to fix the controls to work properly. Yeah,
which I think makes the game worse. If you don't have analog controllers on a game like on Mario Sunshine, it makes the game worse to me. If you ask me.
I don't know. I'm gonna try it out whenever I get it. So I will see. I love Sunshine whenever I had it. So we're gonna see if it does any justice with it.
It won't because the controller can't be matched when playing that game.
It can't be, but we're gonna see how Nintendo do it. Because I mean, if you really think about it, the mechanics for the Flood are very similar to Splatoon. So if they can make Splatoon work, I think they can kind of make Mario Sunshine work.
If there's any game that they should be using that little Smash Brothers controller port for, it would be Mario Sunshine. You would think they would use it for stuff like that, but for some reason they don't. They have all these great ideas that they don't even use.
I don't think those GameCube controllers are actual analog. I think they're still digital, but they just give the travel like they're analog so that people can be used to the controller.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
I would love to look that up.
Because
that's what but I haven't looked at the controller myself, so that's the only reason I haven't bought it. Because I'm like, if it's still if the mechanics for Smash Brothers Ultimate are based around around digital buttons, why would you need an analog controller to play the game? You wouldn't be able to do there's no light shielding.
That's interesting.
So we might have to buy one for business research purposes.
Business research purposes. Tax write-off.
Yeah,
write that off.
Yeah.
But
maybe we need to
review that controller.
Maybe when they come
out with the virtual console,
they're gonna say you can use the GameCube controller the way that it used to be used. But that would be too good for Nintendo because they could have done that for the Wii U.
You know what? I do need to go buy those NES controllers and that Super NES controller that they only sell as long as you have a Switch account or a Switch Online account. You got to buy them from their store. They have the old school 8-bit controller, the 2-button controller, and they have the old school Super NES controller.
Let me give you a
little secret.
If you had a
Wii U and had a virtual console,
if you bought
the
Wii U Motion Plus controller that looks like a Wii controller, and if you turn on virtual console and just turn it to the side, it was just like playing the NES perfectly, and the controls were perfect.
Nice.
I kid you not. I would play games like Mario and Punch Out. And it was like playing the exact same controller of the NES controller. It was great. It was fantastic, man. I'm wondering why don't they do that for the Switch? Maybe they will at some point. Because the Joy-Cons don't really compare to the Wii Motion Plus controller. But I would think that they would eventually have something for that. If especially, and we're closing with this, we've been here longer than what we're supposed to. If they really are coming out with, and I've heard a store release this and leak this, so apparently they are going to be coming out with a home console in the future version. Maybe of a Switch, or maybe it's just a home console version of their system that they've been doing R&D on, which will get these new next generation IPs like the Cyberpunk stuff. Maybe you can only play that stuff on that system. Maybe that's what they're waiting to put out. Breath of the Wild on, and Metroid, and all that other stuff. Maybe they're waiting for that to come out so they can put it on that. I wouldn't be mad at that because I mean that's something that I would be able to buy, and I wouldn't be able to write off. That'd be a personal purchase for me. They come out with a console version of the Switch that can play current third-party IPs and going into the next generation. Those IPs with the Nintendo IPs coming out. I would get that.
You do also have that they've been working on the technology for the cartridges, and they're getting those 32 gigabyte cartridges, starting to get them more produced. I mean, you got Witcher 3 on 32 gigabyte cartridge. You have the Dragon Quest Heroes that's in Japan on 32 gigabyte cartridges. You have the Xbox, or not the Xbox, the Final Fantasy X and X2 in Japan on the 32 gigabyte cartridges. So I couldn't see if they came out with a new system or a stronger system where they get 32 gigabyte cartridges and they get 64 gigabyte cartridges. And it's like, if these companies just start compressing their games, they could fit these games on these cartridges and you could have incredible experiences on the go.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be something that moving forward is going to be a problem. Even for all these systems. Because they're going to have to figure out a way to compress this data because having these 80 gigabyte games and all that and you're only given 1 terabyte of memory. If you do 80 gigabytes or 65 gigabytes, 90 gigabytes, and then you have the update download files, you put on about 8-9 games on the system. Your system's full. And that's not even counting if you decide to digitally download the game. Like if you digitally download the game, you're only getting 9 to 10 games on that system anyway. Why do you think most companies haven't put R&D into compressing files?
I don't know. That's like you would think that as a company, I would want my game, if I know you have to install the game, especially on a PlayStation or Xbox. Like Nintendo, you'd be like, oh, it can fit on a cartridge. So I'd be like, you know what? Let me compress this down, and get it on get everything on the cartridge, so that these people can take it anywhere they want to go and have it with them. Or if you if you're installing it or you got to download the digital version, let me get this game compressed, because I know there's going to be 2 reasons that people delete a game off of a system. And the majority of the reason is they need space. So if your game is smaller in size, guess what? If they're not playing it a lot, it's going to stay on that system still. But if they're not playing it a lot and it's huge in size, guess what? It's going to be the first one to go, and then they may never re-download it and never play it again. And they might even look at it and be like, I don't even have enough space to download this game and play it, so I'm just not even going to buy it. But if they have, if you got a game like Breath of the Wild's 13 or 16 gigabytes, that gives you 800 hours of play or more for some people. And it's
they're always good with compressing their files.
Yes, Nintendo's excellent with compressing. I mean, even if you look at Splatoon, with all the DLC in Splatoon and everything they've done, that game is 5 gigabytes. ARMS. ARMS, I don't know what ARMS is offhand, but I do know if you download the updates onto your Switch, it's only 1 gigabyte for all the updates.
Wow.
So it's you added 4 or 5 characters since the release of ARMS and a whole bunch of different stuff. So it's why would you I literally go through my stuff and I'm like, oh, I haven't played this game in 6 months. Oh, it's 9 gigabytes, it's going off. But then I sit there and I'll be like, oh, this game only has 1 gigabyte. I'll download all the DLC and just leave it there, and I haven't even played the game in 2 years, and I won't even touch it. It will not be ever in risk of taking off my system. And these companies need to realize that. If you want people to keep your games, just compress them and make them not the game people want to take off.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll have to do it here. I guess we can get the guys on who will defend their company. I want them to defend Sony just making games on PlayStation 5 that's PlayStation 4. I want to know how that's a good business move, and why would that make me want to buy the system? So they ain't on today. Maybe they're scared. Maybe these guys are running around scared to defend their company because they know they don't have a leg to stand on. So maybe that's what it is. I didn't scare the guys from coming on. So maybe next week they'll come up and do some research and bring some ammo, bring some heat. But this has been great, guys. This has been the Fed Up Gamers Podcast. Do you have any final words to say, man? Any games that you're looking forward to, man? Before we take off?
There's I got a lot of games I'm looking forward to. I got a lot on pre-order. So like I'm looking to get into that episode 1 and 2 Pod Racer. I got the Shantae series all on pre-order. So I'm gonna have that whole 5-game collection physical. And right now Pirate's Curse is going crazy. Like $250 for a used version of that game. And I'm just like, I already own it. I got it for $65. So I'm like, I'm good. But it's just like, I got a lot of stuff that's just waiting to come out. And I'm excited to just start diving into the game. Atelier Rise of 2's coming out. Like, if you haven't seen the Atelier series, that first one came out, and that's my waifu right there. I bought the game for the character model, and the game turned out to be really, really good. And so I'm excited for the second one. I'm a buy a collector's edition. I'm glad that they're restocking the American version with the ESRB rating because I had to import mine from Europe. So I'm just going to go buy another copy of it because I'm like, you know what? I need to have this game in the American version so that I can be good. But it's just like, I'm excited for the second one to come out. It seems like they put a lot of work into it. So, and they said it's going to come out maybe like winter 2020. So that's what I'm really looking forward to right now.
Well, then, that's a great idea for a retro show. Talk about how you used to have to import certain games that they didn't want to release it in the U.S. And then you had to do all this nonsense to try to get it to work because you had the language chip and the thing wouldn't recognize it because it was from a different region. So you had to like jailbreak your system to be able to play the game, and you had to do that for a couple different games. So that might have to be a good retro show. But it's been great, guys. If you guys like this podcast, like I said, we usually have more representatives on. But this has been the Fed Up Gamers Podcast. Like I said, there's stuff that you're only going to hear here on this podcast. There's so much history here. There's so much knowledge here. We're going to have a different perspective. We also are seeking, as we move to our other channel, which will be the brand channel, we're seeking to do gaming journalism right by being able to review things with integrity, without biasness, because we don't care if the game company send us games. We want for you to be able to know how the game plays and what it's like. And we want to give you good reviews that are unbiased because we can just give our unbiased view. So we're going to take gaming journalism back to where it should be. We're putting integrity back in gaming journalism. So we're looking forward to having you guys join us on our new channel, which will be the Fed Up Gamers channel. And we'll put some links in there. You'll see it. If you type in Fed Up Gamers Podcast, it'll come right up. And we're looking forward to it. So till next week, guys, we love you guys. Please comment, subscribe. We'll see you on the other side. Have a wonderful